All right, all right, all right. Happy Friday, happy Friday. Look, I'm coming in hot tonight. It is my 8th episode. I am Friday Jones, your host, and this is Friday Jones Uncensored. I wear many hats, but this is the show that I do to share what's happening, particularly in reparations law, who's suing who, and specifically so that we can build a reparations mindset. That means in all things that we do, we are always moving towards repairing ourselves, our community. We look through legislation and through government, but we also look through community and community development so that we as American freedmen are always moving with a reparations mindset and to one accord to be made whole in this country of ours known as the United States of America. Look, we are getting into it. We have a lot to get into. I was not expecting this to be the reparations minute, but this is what it is. We're talking about California Assemblywoman Diane Dixon. I believe she is Assembly District 72 out of Newport. She dropped a video, honey, that nobody asked her to drop, and we are going to get into it in our reparations minute. Let's get my clock going. All right, we're gonna watch this video together. She put it up on her Instagram. Her Instagram is Diane DIANE _ Dixon _ ASM. She recorded this, you guys. This woman is 70 years old, which means she was born in the United States in the 1950s during segregation, at least 10 years before the civil rights laws came into being. This woman represents the 5th largest Black population by state in the United States of America. And this is what she had to say about reparations. Let me hit the play button. I don't think I can make it any larger, but here we go. Again, this is Assembly Member Diane Dixon, Assembly District 72 in the state of California.
Bells are ringing. Sacramento is quietly laying the groundwork for reparations payments, and they don't want anyone to know what's happening. There is a bill sneaking through the legislative process that will change the tax code so that reparation payments won't be taxed. They're not debating if reparations are coming. They're already writing the rules for when they arrive. This is how it starts. I've been in Sacramento now for 4 years, but I already know the schemes of bad policymaking. First, they lay the groundwork. Then they patiently wait for the right time, oftentimes in the last days of the legislative session when we work past midnight, to sneak something in with a bad bill. I have voted against every reparations measure that has come before me, including opposing this bill twice. Follow me here. I will keep you updated and share how you can join me as I continue the fight to stop this. This is not the right path for California. Thank you. Alarm.
So this is what this Diane Dixon person thinks about reparations in California. California, where Black Americans as a whole, in our entirety, we're not even disaggregating the American freedmen population, but this woman, again, is in the state with the 5th largest American freedmen population in the entire United States. And she is a Confederate. She is a anti-reparations. I don't even know how she calls herself a Republican because, honey, the Republicans were fearless. They were fearless in their stance for the advocacy of American freedmen after emancipation. And so she is a whole disgrace to her entire party, as far as I'm concerned. This woman is that same old school that would have been in Congress allowing the treasonous Confederates to get back into government. Diane Dixon, I have nothing to say to her. I posted, I don't have my phone, my site up, but I will find it. so that we can have a call to action to have people call her office. She is absolutely unacceptable. Her implying that we are sneaking when advocates like me, advocates like Chris Logson, advocates from Northern all the way down to San Diego have for the past 6 years been actively trying to get reparations. We are a numeric minority in the state of California. We stand at 6% statewide of the population, even though in some areas like Los Angeles or San Francisco, we may be 10% of the population. This is unacceptable. Her leadership is deplorable. You cannot have a group of American people that cannot seek redress in their own country through legislative policy. We can't petition our government because we're going to be hit with anti-14th Amendment, violating the Constitution. You cannot have citizens in your country who are unable to make the law work for their needs, period. Anyone who thinks that is un-American. This woman is not a bad bill alert. She is a bad legislator, period. That is the reparations minute in its entirety, because we have Hermeet Dhillon to deal with, and she's I don't have enough things to say about Hermeet Dhillon, but this woman and Hermeet are cut from the same cloth. That is all I have to say. I am going to do a deep dive into the state of California. I'm going to do a deep dive into how much money we spend on Holocaust victims in the state of California. I am going to look at the most recent legislation passed for the nation of Israel, where it is to the tunes of $400 million. And this woman wants to talk about a bad bill because we don't want to be taxed for our reparations. In the same way, there is federal tax policy that allows for Holocaust victims' income to not be taxed. I have not looked yet into whether or not California, specifically in their tax code, allows that same non-taxation, but I do know in the state of Illinois, it is on their books and it's on the record. This woman is out of order. I don't know who she serves, but she has no sovereignty over the descendants of chattel slavery in the United States of America. If it is good for Holocaust victims who were victimized in Germany during World War II and whose descendants still reap the benefits here in the United States of America, it is absolutely good for American freedmen whose ancestors were enslaved in this country. She is out of order. So moving on. Told y'all I was coming in hot. I did not tell any lies. All right. I don't know if you guys know, I've been following the Evanston case. If you go to my channel on YouTube at IAM Friday Jones, you will see the Evanston lawsuit. This is like a part 2 to the Evanston lawsuit, because as of June 16, 2026, our own United States Department of Justice moved to intervene in the race discrimination lawsuit challenging reparations in the state of Illinois. They are challenging reparations in the state of Illinois. Now we all know, full disclosure, I don't know, maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 years ago, I wrote an essay on the fact that I knew this was coming because Evanston insisted on using race-based language. In August of this year, I will be working with the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants to create a legal framework for reparations, including legislation that commissions, that lawsuits, that policy, including the city of Los Angeles's policy, needs to use, that is constitutionally sound, that will stand up to lawsuits like this, because it's not a function of whether or not they're coming. It's a function of when. And as we see in this administration, Hermeet Dhillon, who is supposed to be the civil rights department, she is gutting civil rights for American freedmen. And we have our own political standing as American freedmen that cannot be touched. But we have people making these laws, like Evanston made these laws, these race-based laws that are going tooth and nail. And when I tell you this is a spiritual war, this is a spiritual war. This is spiritual warfare. What Black Americans do in this country reverberates around the world. We are super powerful and super influential, and we cannot have a nation that continues to degrade our humanity because we have melanin in our skin, and who continues to, government after government, century after century, decade after decade, not give the redress that is owed. And it is due. It is past due. We're going to get into it. So the press release for this drop, again, on June 16th. Today, the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division moved to intervene in a lawsuit challenging a program by the city of Evanston, Illinois, that distributes cash payments and financial assistance for housing solely to Black persons and their descendants, and not to similarly situated persons of other races. The United States proposed complaint in intervention alleges that the city's actions violate the Equal Protections Clause of the 14th Amendment, and they're attaching the Fair Housing Act. I need you guys to notice that. The DOJ is coming in and saying that the federal government has a Fair Housing Act, and this housing voucher program that Evanston instituted for reparations is in violation. The point I want you all to know, if you go to my Evanston case, I did not get into all of the research that was done by Brother Dino in Evanston. Evanston chose a single repair. They chose a single repair in the form of a housing voucher. The history that was imparted by the good Brother Dino in Evanston reflected multiple harms beyond housing. Beyond housing. The fact that they just chose one single repair, and to have the Department of Justice come in, joining in on a very racist lawsuit, standing in as the United States government, I don't know what to say. Anyway, under the pretext of paying reparations for events more than 100 years ago, the city of Evanston has chosen, so they're trying to say too much time has passed. The country can't right its wrongs, but too much time has passed. Too much time hasn't passed. Jim Crow survivors are alive and well and walking around. The people who were blocking in 1950s desegregation are alive and well. The kids that were spitting on other children with their horrible parents and taunting young children going to school are alive and well. This country has a debt to pay. They go in about the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court has repeatedly affirmed that government actions classifying citizens by race are presumptively unconstitutional. And U.S. Attorney Andrew Boutros for the Northern District of Illinois, the Constitution demands that the government treat citizens as individuals, not as a member of a racial class. Distributing public funds based on an individual's ancestry or race divides the citizenry and establishes a very hierarchy of equal protection clause was designed to dismantle. So we're going to act like the United States government does not pay money to Indian tribal nations. We're going to act like Jewish Holocaust victims don't, in their ethnicity, that's an ethnicity, we're going to act like they don't get individual, based on ancestry, their descendants standing in their shoes with treaties with the United States. When it comes to us, American freedmen, it cannot be done. Somehow it's unconstitutional. We don't know how, the nation can't pay for it, but we do these things and have done these things. We did it for the redress of the Japanese after internment. We do it continuously, even though the United States is definitely a treaty breaker when it comes to Indian tribal nations. But those 5 civilized tribal nations, the Oklahoma Trail of Tears, those freedmen in those societies, in those nations, have greater standing than American freedmen have in the United States of America. Let's call the thing, and let's keep the language plain. This is unacceptable. We don't just do press releases, okay? The original case is Flynn and al. Versus the city of Evanston, case number 24CV 4269, okay? And it's in that Northern District. Again, this is federal court. You can look it up, but I'm going to go ahead and share. I'm going to share the documents so you can make your screen bigger, pause, do what you need to do so you can look it up. I don't have enough followers because when I put live links in my descriptions, the YouTube cuts them off. And I'm sorry, I need y'all to tell 10 friends so we can get my numbers up so that they will have active links when I put them underneath my shows. But this information, you can find it. All you got to do is Google U.S. Department of Justice intervenes in Evanston reparations. You're going to be taken to the very public website by the Office of Public Affairs from the U.S. Department of Justice. And you can click their hyperlinks to get to these documents that we're going to go through today, okay? The first document is the motion, again, filed in the U.S. District Court for Northern District of Illinois' Eastern Division. Remember, the original plaintiffs were Margot Flynn. This is all in my other video. Carol Johnson, Stacey Namanis, who we know whose father immigrated him here when he was a child after World War II, after the Holocaust. So this is a Holocaust survivor, again, in the face of a class action lawsuit that is stopping reparations for American freedmen on our soil in the United States. Meanwhile, the state of Illinois allows him to receive the benefits of the Holocaust and that repair, including descendants, tax-free. Tax-free. But we have Diane Dixon in the state of California, Assembly District, not wanting that for American freedmen. How dare she, by what right? City of Evanston is the defendant. The Honorable Judge F. Ness, district judge, is the judge in this case. Basically, they're asking to intervene. The motion is to intervene. The United States asserts that the following alleged in the United States proposed complaint and intervention as set forth more fully in the accompanying memorandum. We're going to go to the memorandum because I don't want to rehash this. But at the end of the day, Evanston, the city of Evanston, had a reparations commission in process. They created unrestricted cash payments. Initially, the payments were for repairs, but people protested and they just wanted cash money. And so now they are giving cash money for housing rehab, basically, for people who were disenfranchised through zoning laws. And we all know redlining was a thing. We all know that the federal government, who financed lending and development in cities across the country, excluded Black Americans. And so all that time when we were paying our taxes, we didn't have the U.S. Department of Justice or Hermeet Dhillon from the United States saying these people should have housing until 1968. Until 1968. But if you follow real estate law and banking laws change, because loans used to be like 5 or 10 years. This 30-year thing is a after Depression thing. This is something that came out after the Depression. And so the federal government and banking laws and rules, which are governed by the United States, affected Black Americans. And we have been disenfranchised from the post-Depression, so let's just say the 1930s, all the way through 1968. Where's the redress for that period of time? Where are the Levitt towns that were built from all the way from Florida, all the way up to New York, I think all the way up to Boston, on that eastern shore that the United States funded with taxpayer money, which included very hard working American freedmen? Where is our redress for that? Where's the $2 million from the Freedmen Bank that the United States took after soldiers, Union soldiers, Black Negro soldiers invested in T-bills to give this broke country money after the Civil War? Where's that redress, as Hermeet Dhillon pursues this intervention. And she wants to talk about what was 100 years ago. Let's talk about what was 50 years ago. Let's talk about what was 70 years ago in my mother's lifetime. Let's talk about what was 80 years ago in my father's lifetime. And he served in my grandfather, multiple members of my family, the men, served in the United States military that was segregated. Let's talk about those things that happened and that redress. Anyway, the city offers these payments, and in this motion, they say the Constitution almost never permits a government to discriminate on the basis of race. Such discrimination triggers strict scrutiny. We knew that was going to happen. They name Louisiana versus Kalis. That's the case that triggered the strict scrutiny here. 2026 case. The city's racially discriminatory program is not narrowly tailored to remediating specific identified instances of past discrimination that violated the Constitution, and they're adding or a statute. And for those of us who know what a statute is, that is state law. So they're basically saying that if it didn't violate the Constitution, and if it was legal 100 years ago, if it was legal 50 years ago, the city basically can't do it. It's not narrow enough. I want an example from Hermeet Dhillon of what would be narrow enough. Because from what I see, narrow enough is you always get nothing. Narrow enough is you fight for yourself, and we, through this system of government, will tear down what you fight for. Not narrow enough to me means we don't care how many generations we have to tell no. We don't care if it was 400,000 ex-slaves that have formed an organization to petition Congress. We will continue generation after generation to tell you no, because this is a Confederate state, Confederate nation, hiding behind a republic called democracy. That is what this means to me from Hermeet Dhillon. And when I get to the bottom of who signed off on this thing, it's the freaking Rainbow Coalition. We got an East Indian, we got a Latino, we got a Italian. Where is the Rainbow Coalition that stands up for American freedmen? That's not in this little checkerboard chess game of our lives. Where are those people? Because you need to be talking to your people. Don't come talking to us. Go talk to your people. Go to your church. Go to your community. Go to your city council board meetings. Go to these hearings in Washington, D.C., and you talk to your people, because there is an Asian caucus. There is a Spanish caucus. There are all these different caucuses. Dark money can materialize overnight for these Republicans to do dastardly things, to run the people they want to run. They got money for days. And when it's time for American freedmen, and I'm being very specific, this is not some all free fall race thing, because when immigrants immigrate to this country, basically y'all are created equal. In terms of rights, naturalization, what happens? But American freedmen have been here since the Revolutionary War, not to mention the Civil War. And this is what we're dealing with in our home country. Anyway, the United States proposed complaint and intervention names the city of Evanston as a defendant and alleges the program, again, violates the Equal Protection Clause. And that 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause is specific to states, which is why, if we scroll back up where I was just reading, which is why they included statutes. Because the 14th Amendment, again, this is a Reconstruction law, 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, 13th ended slavery, 14th Amendment to say the Negroes are equals now, and then that 15th Amendment. But somehow the constitutional amendments that were made to address us can never be stood up to repair us. Anyway, I want to get in, and you can see here, you can see here the people who signed off on this, and we're going to get into the full complaint. That one I think is 48 pages. We're not going to be able, there's no way I'm reading all of that tonight. Again, you can pull these documents up, but you must be informed. We cannot be concerned about the Asian boycott. I'm glad that we are finally investing in ourselves. I've posted about that. I myself am doing better in terms of where and how I'm spending my dollars. We need to do that. But we also need to understand these things. We can't be concerned about who is dating who, what performers, entertainers, what they have going on in their lives. We can't be overly consumed about the Knicks winning and they haven't won in I don't know, 50 years or however long it is. We haven't won in 50 years. I don't want to hear about Super Bowl coming up. I don't want to hear about FIFA. I don't want to hear about even the Olympics, if I'm being honest. We don't have time for that, American Freedmen people, because Hermeet Dhillon, Assistant Attorney General, just like she tore down reparations in Asheville, she's tearing it up now in Evanston. Jesus Osset, Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney. I bet you he's not talking to the Hispanic and Latino caucus in Washington, D.C. to stand up for us. Eric Sell, Gregory Dhillon, Carrie Pagnuccio. She sound Italian. I don't see these people standing up for us in any capacity whatsoever in Washington, D.C., legislating on our behalf. They are tearing American Freedmen down, and they want us to think that we're not entitled to anything. And we're going to keep doing deep dives into this law because we're going to crack this code. I promise you that. Let's move on to this next document. And I'm not rehashing the thing because, again, you can watch my other video on Evanston that gets into that. According to the Department of Justice, the city has not made findings sufficient to establish that its racially discriminatory program, again, is narrowly tailored to remediate specific identified instances of discrimination. So they basically telling Dino all of that history on the city of Evanston, all of the codes that were there to discriminate against where Black people could live, all of the planning committee that was done that discriminated where people could live is not sufficient for a narrowly tailored program. How narrow can you get? If you were here, you were impacted. If you are a descendant of someone who's impacted, we have $25,000 for you. That's nothing. That's nothing. I don't know how much houses cost in Evanston, but $25,000 in California is not even a 10% or 20% down payment on a home. It's not. And Evanston is a nicer suburb of Chicago. I know that for a fact. I know that to be true. None of the city resolutions authorizing or otherwise relating to the program contains any findings of, quote, specific identified instances of past discrimination that violate the Constitution or statute that the city is attempting to remediate. None identifies the precise scope of the injury caused by these instances of discrimination that it seeks to remedy. And none point to any strong basis in evidence to conclude that the program's race-based action is necessary. Rather, the resolutions include nothing more than boilerplate statements that recognize or acknowledge past alleged discrimination or ongoing unspecified racial disparities. They contain virtually no information about the alleged discriminatory acts or policies. During what years the discrimination occurred, the policies that were in effect, or the scope of the injury caused by these acts or policies. The resolutions do not attempt to tie any remedial programs to specific instances or identifiable victims of past discrimination, and instead focus on race alone. The laws were racial. The laws were applicable to all of the Negroes. And what y'all don't even, thanks to Obama, call us Negroes anymore. Him and from New York, I forget her name, Grace Meng, made sure of that. They got rid of Oriental and Negro. at the same time. Meanwhile, Negro is the longest standing census identifier for Black Americans, and because it was and is on people's birth certificates, a lot of Black American Negroes still on the census write Negro because it's on their birth certificate. We got to know our history. We can't let these people continue to switch games, talk they fast language, talk they slick talk in order to always disenfranchise us. We have to enfranchise ourselves while breaking down their systems. Period. That's it. That's the name of the game. Enfranchise ourselves through community actions like the boycotts, like supporting Black businesses, like supporting Black nail, hair, techs, and all the things, beauty supply stores, shopping, grocery stores if you can find them, farmers where they distribute their food at farmers markets. Those are things that we have to do. Taking our education, building our own equity funds, and getting down and buying properties and not houses, buying warehouses to get with our farmers so we can do our own economics at a good scale. Not just at selling incense on a corner. Nothing wrong with that, but we need to scale, because that's the only way we're going to accumulate enough money to deal with lawsuits like this. I told you all 3 years ago, I tried, I'm not going to say, but with name brand schools here in Los Angeles, with amazing football and athletic teams, to get lawyers, because I saw all of this coming 3 years ago. I haven't had one lawyer say yes to sign up to do the kind of work that needs to be done. No one wants to do pro bono work unless it's for immigrant rights. Let's move on. Let's move forward. Again, it says the report does not make findings of any specific identified instances of past discrimination. Basically, they're saying, look, whatever happened to you all was legal according to state statute, and because it was legal, we're not giving you redress. That is in summary what this whole 16-page motion to intervene by the United States Department of Justice, who is supposed to be holding up civil rights. The civil rights are being turned on us. It's being projected and being used against us. The rights that were literally made to protect the Negro after emancipation during the Reconstruction era. In law school, these are referred to as the Reconstruction Amendments. The Reconstruction Amendments are now being strategically targeted against Negroes, against American freedmen people. This motion goes on to say the city refused to cooperate with the United States investigation. In March 2026, the United States informed the city that it opened an investigation into the program under the Equal Protection Clause and the Fair Housing Act. The United States requested that the city provide information and documentation related to the program, including information on how it's operated, what evidence the city had compiled of housing discrimination it was intended to remedy, and why the city believed its program complied with the Equal Protection Clause and the Fair Housing Act. The thing about that is, no disrespect to Hermeet Dhillon, and I'm sure the waste of taxpayer money that's happening through this investigation, but all that information is literally on their website. So I don't know what kind of interns you got at the Department of Justice. The 50 lawyers that signed the end of this document. Nobody knows how to do research, because that's something they teach you in law school. You got a whole law degree. All of these people on the bottom here. All of these people. All of y'all got law degrees. Chief, Senior Counsel, Deputy Assistant Attorney General, Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General, Assistant Attorney General. Don't nobody know how to do research now? Y'all can't find anything? You can't find the research? The research literally is all online. All of what happened during these commission hearings, the votes, the data that was used, it's all online. But these very smart, overpaid attorneys representing the United States, all of a sudden, they don't know how to find any information. They go on to say the city has not made findings sufficient to establish that its racially discriminatory program, you see the language they keep using, right? They're trying to convince the judge by being repetitive, like a spell, like they're casting spells. Again, words, you learn spelling in school because it is writing, language. The word was God, right? You casting spells. So they're saying it repetitively to convince the judge through spell magic that it's a discriminatory program as opposed to it being a program of redress and remediation. Anyway, the city has not made findings sufficient to establish that its racially discriminatory program is narrowly tailored to remediate specific identified instances of discrimination. None of the city resolutions authorized or otherwise relating to the program contains any findings specific identified instances of past discrimination that violated the Constitution or statutes. That's what they're standing on. The report does not make any findings of any specific identified instances of past discrimination. Again, they're sticking to that violated the Constitution or statute. Because it was legal, y'all Negroes got to take it. We're not making y'all whole. The program is not tailored to the facts relating to housing and zoning policies that are discussed in the report. The report identifies actions that the city may have carried out or been involved with at various times between 1920 and 1949 to restrict housing opportunities for Black residents of Evanston to a concentrated area of the city and to condemn housing occupied by Black residents. The report suggests that these actions, coupled with private discrimination by realtors and lenders and through restrictive covenants, resulted in overcrowding, excessive rents, and other adverse housing conditions for residents living in areas where Black residents were segregated. Well, my God, somebody did some research. But what they're telling you is that the remedy, the little $25,000 policy, is not narrow enough. I, unfortunately, in my preparation for tonight, I didn't see how much money Evanston put in for Holocaust victims. But if you go to my first Evanston video, I did do that. And you can see the numbers for yourself. I don't want to misquote it because I quoted it accurately previously. The program does not provide opportunities for compensation for residents of other races who may have lived in areas where Black residents were segregated and suffered adverse housing consequences as a result. Let's keep it a buck. The Lithuanians I keep calling him Neiman Marcus. That's not his name. Stacy Neimanis. He wound up immigrating there was a Lithuanian community, a little Lithuanian community. This is after the war. These were the Jewish Holocaust survivors that wound up moving to this little Lithuanian community in Evanston. It's like 2 towns over. And when Catholics came to the United States, their priests told them, well, when you go for a job, tell them, even though you're Irish, tell them, or Italian, tell them that at least you're not a Negro. The level of racism was so rampant that other people could come in communities, they could skirt up next to American Freedmen communities, and because they too were poor, because, you know, the Anglo-Saxons maybe discriminated against them, they were able to find their footing and they were able to assimilate into whiteness in a way that melanated people have never been able to in this country. Full stop. They want to act like we're assimilated, knowing that we're not, and not give redress. That's what this is all about. They go on to say that the city has distributed and continues to distribute millions of dollars through the program based on race. People who allegedly qualify as an ancestor or direct descendant. I want to see this thing play out. You guys can go and read it. I'm a little disgusted. We might end early. I don't know. I got a couple of things to get through. But I want to remind you guys from this registration statement pursuant to Foreign Agents Registrations Act of 1938, where foreign folks in this country conducting business in the United States actually have to file this form. And Show Faith by Works LLC, which is primarily located in San Diego, and the foreign principal for this LLC is Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, with an address located in Israel. If you scroll all the way to the bottom of this thing where they put this spreadsheet together. Oops, hold on. This spreadsheet, and I showed this before in the Evanston. What you're gonna see here, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to make this bigger so you guys can really see this. On-call legal firm is Dhillon Law Firm. It's Hermeet Dhillon's law firm, even though she supposedly doesn't work there anymore. Her law firm, this Department of Justice, she is a high-ranking federal attorney general, assistant attorney general, who supposedly is working in the civil rights department, is working for Israel to keep in compliance with foreign agent registration for an Israeli organization in the United States of America. How is that not a conflict of interest? Who is she to be bringing lawsuits in violation of civil rights when she is an agent, or her law firm is an agent working for, again, we can go back to page 1. Let me go back to page 1. I'm trying to make it small now. She's Show Faith by Works. This is their registration number, 7653. The foreign principal is Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Why is Israel, again, we got a Holocaust victim that's the face of this Evanston case. We got Hermeet Dhillon's law firm representing Israel, while she is systematically tearing down reparations for American freedmen in the United States of America. Make it make sense. And I'm going to keep appealing to the white people, because y'all done let the foolishness go so long. Again, forgetting that, the white water fountain somehow made y'all special. Y'all about to have your full behind served to you, because you've let the injustice for American freedmen go on for so long. You reaping what you sow. It's coming. I'm telling you, it's coming. It's coming. And you all, Kiki, you think it's funny. Y'all Karens think it's funny. Your KKK victims. Meanwhile, every day, all of these child assaults, these men and women, like wild beast animals, are violating their own children. They're adopting children and just violating children. And your humanity, poor white folks, has gone so unchecked for so long. This whole system is out of balance. And the only spiritual remedy is reparations for American freedmen. That's it. Full stop. We're going to wrap this up. I want to shout out my good brother, Jazz is Dead, Ali Shaheed Muhammad, and Adrian Young. They are on now. They're wrapping it up, but on Friday nights, they're going to be on kkjz.org, which is 88.1 on your FM dial. I love my brother, and so I just wanted to shout him out. I reposted their post for Jazz is Dead. K Jazz is Dead is the name of their show. I don't know music like my brother knows music, but I enjoyed listening to the show as I was prepping to bring you all this good information. So I just want to shout out Ali Shaheed Muhammad and Adrian Young. I wish you guys the best of luck on your show. This is good stuff. And, we're going to end this with this song Ali did. Oh, hold on. Let me go back out. So I want to give credit to the other artists. CPR with Myrna, Ja Poet, and David Luke. This was not long after my brother moved to LA. He went and he shot these pictures himself. This was the protest after Eric Garner was killed. You know, we grew up in Brooklyn, New York, where as kids you could go around the corner, you could buy your parent a Lucy cigarette. It was legal. It became illegal, and a man died for nothing. And as we talk about what's legal, what's illegal, and how the laws constantly change, and we are under the pressure of the constant changing of these laws that are intended to control our humanity and our existence, when we are born sovereign from the Most High God. We are as sovereign as the folks that are English monarchs in the UK. They are not born somehow differently than we are born. Their humanity is not somehow better. Civil society and civil law comes from aristocrats, comes from people who were peeing in streets and had all kinds of bacteria and diseases and rat infestations going on in Europe. We are a harmonious people. We're a beautiful people. I can't play this whole thing. I mean, I love my brother, but he could hit me up for a copyright. I don't think he would, but this is one of my favorite songs featuring Myrna. She sings the hook on this. CPR, you guys check it out. I'm gonna give you a snippet before we pull out, because I got some food on the stove. It's Friday, y'all. I'm hungry. The artwork is beautiful. Oops. Let me give y'all some sound.
Psychopathic, my demographics erratic and scholastic. Send us angels with compassion, not a thirst for thrashing. Where is the love we're all asking? Up above the law, we see the masking. No, you don't get off that easy. Look at.
All right, like I said, I'm not trying to get struck. The videos are going on as we close out. But know who you are, man. We got to do this work. We have to do this work together. And Cobra had a conference in Washington, D.C. at Howard University. Unfortunately, I could not be in the house for that meeting. It was on a Thursday, and I have to say this. In Cobra, NARC, y'all got millions of dollars to run your organizations. But you also, and members who are part of your movement, made sure to block the lineage people to not have funds invested in us. And because of that, because you chose to go that pathway, because you chose to do that, it means that Monday through Friday, we are at working jobs because we're volunteers. The next time you want to host a debate on lineage versus all reparations, I'm going to need you to hold it on a Saturday or a Sunday. I'm just saying it is what it is. Because those of us that have jobs have to be at our jobs on Monday to Friday. Those of you that got millions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of dollars and blocked lineage organizers by sitting on different boards to make sure we didn't get any money, you all need to be considerate of us. I'm making it plain. I'm not holding any punches. I'm at an age where this is Friday Jones Uncensored. And I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. We have to do better. And the part about the American Freedmen piece that y'all don't understand is we are the people who are named in the United States Constitution. Our beneficiary class is different from any other Black group of people that may have immigrated here. That is a statement of fact. It's not emotional. It's not anything to put hatred in your heart behind. It is a fact, and the redress has to be dealt with in that way. So y'all need to elevate your minds and understand what a reparations mindset is, because for the 5 and 6 years that y'all been carrying on, including the email that was sent out by, what is his name? He's like a professor, Wimbush, by Professor Wimbush, who sent it out days leading up to that conference in Washington, D.C. He sent out that Nation of Islam article so people could have negative opinions about the ADOS group. Now, I'm not affiliated with Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore, but we do know that they were very instrumental in activating many of the activists in the lineage reparations movement. And I think it's in poor taste for someone like Wimbush who's an educator, again, an elite, who wants to be all civilized and highbrow society, to drop something like that when Black people are going in to have a debate. I don't know why we're debating, but to have a debate on the merits of two different things that have been around since Delaney and Douglas. I say this every time I talk and am invited to speak. We act like it's new instead of having resolution for it in real time. We want to debate it. But how you dropping negative ads, newspaper articles on people that you want to work with? Like, that's whack. Do better. Do better. Anyway, I'm on my horse. I'm going to snip this up like I do. I'm going to shout it out. If you want to follow me, here's how. Follow me on social media. I am Friday Jones. It has been my pleasure and my privilege to share this information. As the suits go on, I'm going to keep bringing them. I am going to do how much money California has spent on Jewish Holocaust and the nation of Israel, because Diane Dixon, I'm sorry, honey, you shouldn't have put that video up on your Instagram. You have made an enemy out of me, and I'm happy to be here to serve you, because you are not a true Republican. Nothing true about you. Until next time, I see y'all in 2 weeks. Check out my brother's K-Jazz show Friday nights. We going head to head, but ain't nothing like a little brother sisterly love and rivalry. I will talk to you all soon. Peace and reparations.